great audience, filled with your customers.
Good afternoon.
Here.
Thank you.
So, Dennis, let's kind of get into this quickly. The 737 MAX remains grounded. By all accounts, it's been challenging for you personally. And it's certainly been challenging to the employees of the Boeing Corporation. We understand the company has identified the problem and has been working to address the concerns about the aircraft and training. What changes are being made right now, and when can we expect the MAX to fly again?
Well, Scott, thanks for the chance to be here with you and the audience here. Certainly the situation with the MAX has been a tough one. We continue to have deep sympathies for the families and the loved ones that were affected by these two accidents, and that will always be with us. But it has reaffirmed and really driven us to continue to focus on safety as a core value for our company. And I wanted to stress that right up front, how important safety is to us and to all of our customers. We are working hard on the MAX and making good progress. Top 5 things I'd like you to know about the progress we're making. 1, we are making software updates to the MAX. We have worked our way through the technical details of that and are in the final stages of preparing that software. We'll go through certification with the FAA. We plan to submit that certification package in September and currently anticipate that we'll return the airplane to service early in the 4th quarter. And we firmly believe that with the software updates, the redundancies we're adding to the airplane, it's a very robust solution, and the MAX will be one of the safest airplanes ever to fly as a result. In addition to the software updates, we're also making training and education material updates that will be provided to our customers. Thirdly, we're also engaged with all of our stakeholders, so we're out with our airline customers, helping them with the training, keeping them abreast of the progress, also helping them with the airplanes that are currently grounded so that they're ready to get back into service. We're also giving back in our communities. We've announced a $100 million fund that Boeing has put together to address community needs and family needs for the victims' families. That's an important part of us giving back to the communities that have been affected. And then lastly, we're continuing to invest in our employees. And we've got a great team of 150,000 Boeing employees around the world. And last week I had the opportunity to do a company-wide webcast with them as well as we continue to engage on all dimensions of the MAX aircraft. So this has been a tough situation, tough for our company, tough for me, but nothing in comparison to the families that have been affected. So we want to really keep that in mind, and our ultimate focus here is on safety, and we are committed to making sure the MAX is one of the safest airplanes ever to fly.
So you get through the FAA, but then now you have to get through all these other airline regulators around the world. How much more complex is that than normal because of what's going on with the other people?
Yeah, it is a complex situation. We have more than 30 regulators around the world that are part of this process. The FAA is the lead regulator, and we're working with them on a daily basis, and I have to compliment the FAA on their professionalism and the focus of the work that's being done. We're also working with regulators around the world, EASA in Europe as an example, ANAC in Brazil, Transport Canada, the CAAC in China, so regulators around the world with the FAA's leadership. And this is a very detailed, rigorous, comprehensive review of everything that we're doing on the airplane, and we're going to continue to work with the regulators to get the airplane back up and flying.
So a couple of months ago, I was contacted by the Financial Times to do an interview about the MAX, and we offered to do a flash poll because we said, look, let's not speculate. Let's understand what's truly going on out there in the industry. We conducted the flash poll about concerns on the 737 for business travel. 2/3 of our members say they believe travelers are likely to change travel plans to avoid the 737 MAX. What do you say to buyers in the audience that are here to make them feel comfortable to be able to put people back on those planes? And what do you want to tell those people? Because everybody in this room flies constantly. So they're also customers of the plane. But then they have hundreds of thousands of people that they're responsible for to make the decision, do you get on a plane or not get on a plane? How do you address that to this audience?
Now, this is certainly a challenging situation, and the respect and confidence of the flying public is extremely important to us. And we know that trust has been damaged over the last few months, and we own that, and we are working hard to re-earn that trust going forward. And we know all of you are making decisions related to that, and it's important for us to build that confidence and rebuild that confidence for the future. I can tell you that a few things should add to that confidence. One is the amount of focus and detail that's going into the software update to make the airplane as safe as possible. We are very focused on that. That includes almost 500 flight tests that have been now conducted with that new software. I have personally flown on 2 of those flight tests just to add to our confidence level, and our employees are eager to do the same. The level of work that we're doing with our airline customers around the world as part of that process, including about a dozen customer conferences around the world, more than 200 simulation sessions with customers to make sure they're confident in the solution, and then the amount of rigor that's going into the regulatory work and the comprehensive reviews of the certification with the FAA and the other regulators are doing. All of that should add confidence to the future. But it is important that we just get the airplane back up and flying and get it back with the flying public. We know we have work to do, and we regret the impact that it's had on all of you and the flying public. You know, we have built and flown airplanes for more than a century, and at the core of that is the safety of our airplanes. And anything that harms that trust is something that really hurts us as a company. And so we are very, very focused on earning and re-earning the trust of the flying public, and we will not stop until that's the case.
So what do you do, Dennis, to guarantee as you design planes into the future that you never have a problem like this again? Because obviously it's shaking people's confidence, and that's not a good thing for anybody's business. Yeah. How do you guarantee in the future, in future designs, because there'll be more planes after this plane, how do you guarantee it's not going to happen again?
Yeah, well, we can never stop learning about safety. And the great thing that's made aviation the safest form of transportation in the world is we always improve. We never stop on the front of safety. We always get better and better. And that, as I said, has made air transport the safest form of travel today. Over the last 20 years, working with the FAA and other regulators, about a 95% reduction in accident rate has occurred. That includes about 90 million accident-free flights in the U.S. over the last decade. Every day, about 5 million people fly on Boeing airplanes safely around the world. So we know, that lives depend on what we do, and our job is to always continuously learn to make the next airplane better and better. So we have a number of independent reviews that are ongoing with the U.S. government and other regulators. Those independent reviews will give us some recommendations on design and certification processes for the future. We'll capture those. I've also asked my own board at Boeing to set up a special committee that's focused on design and certification processes, so we're learning from that. And we also have some improvements to make on how we communicate and the transparency of our information and how we engage the public in this very highly connected world that we have today. And those are areas where we'll improve as well. Again, we will just be relentless on every day focusing on improvements to safety and making sure that the next airplane is even safer.
Well, let's move on from the MAX. I think we've gotten the point here, and I appreciate your candid discussions with us, because this is an audience that matters to everybody in the airline industry and certainly to Boeing Corporation. Let's talk about something really interesting. The new 777X is due out. It's going to be able to fly farther than any plane.
Yep.
I mean, will passengers see a major change on some of the internal components in that plane? What can we expect? We're all excited about the 777. It's a great plane. What do you got coming?
Well, it's an exciting new product for us, and it'll be our largest wide-body two-engine airplane. We're headed towards first flight at the start of next year and entry into service late next year. This has all kinds of new technologies and capabilities built into it that allow us to connect any two city pairs around the world with more than 7,200 miles of range. But beyond that, a lot of things that are going to add to passenger comfort and the passenger experience. Some of those things include advanced LED lighting inside the cabin. It's going to be able to simulate different times of the day, being able to simulate sunrise and sunset, all things that we know make the travel experience better for people. We're taking lessons learned from the 787 Dreamliner in terms of things like cabin pressure, the altitude that we simulate, the humidity levels, noise reduction. That's going to add to the passenger experience. Bigger windows, about 15 to 20% larger windows and higher for visibility. And we're also incorporating a number of other space features, so a more spacious cabin. And you'll all like this is in terms of carry-on baggage, about twice the volume for carry-on bags, and storage bins that are about 40% easier to close in terms of physical force. So those are just a few things that are designed to add to the customer experience flying on this new 777X. We're really excited about the new product rollout and look forward to bringing it to the market.
Well, my personal favorite was the 747, which you no longer are making for the public, right?
We're still making 747s, low production rate, and it's a great airplane as well. And
I always like the 4 engines versus 2.
Yeah. Well, it is a great airplane, and it's an iconic Boeing airplane that's recognizable.
It certainly is. Yeah. Let's shift gears. We're here at the McCormick Center. We're in 2019. Where do you see mobility and technology in planes going? Things like AI. What's the future hold for air travel?
Well, we're envisioning a future for travel that includes a lot of new technology advancements that will add to safety and also add flexibility for customers. We expect a future airspace that includes both piloted vehicles and autonomous vehicles, as an example. And one of the things I've talked about before is that for congested urban areas in particular, all of you that have been spending time in ground traffic, stuck in a traffic jam, we expect in urban centers around the world over the next decade, you're going to see that ground traffic move up to be 3-dimensional. And so this idea of flying taxis and autonomous vehicles flying in urban areas is very feasible. In fact, we've already built and we're testing flying vehicles today. And we're also working on the wraparound technology and systems that will make sure it's safe. So we have a project underway that we call SkyGrid, for example. That's the control system for the future. So these prototype vehicles and the control systems, this is an exciting new opportunity for us. It's going to create great flexibility for the traveling public, give you a lot more options. And again, that'll be paced, I think, by the framework for ensuring that the implementation is safe and that we can operate those kind of vehicles in a urban environment.
So many of us here remember the Concorde. Many of us flew that both on British Air and Air France for years, back and forth to London. What about supersonic travel? What happened? That went away. Yeah. And what's next? Are you
guys coming back?
Are you going to get into supersonic travel?
Yeah, it is. And we think there's a new horizon now, both technology and capability-wise, that'll make it more economically viable, where the Concorde was not. We recently established a new partnership with Ariane, so we're working on a new supersonic business jet. It's called the AS2. That'll take about 3 hours off the flight time to get across the Atlantic, so big transatlantic advantage for business travelers. And we're also working on the next generation of technology we call Hypersonic Technology. So these are airplanes that are able to fly at about 5 to 6 times the speed of sound. And ultimately, when we field that capability, you'll be able to connect any 2 city pairs in the world in about 2 hours. So imagine the ability to go anywhere in the world in about 2 hours. That technology will come to fruition over the next 10 to 15 years. And we're actually working on prototype vehicles now to prove out some of the foundational technologies.
That's pretty amazing. I mean, 2 hours to any city pair in the world. Yeah. All your bosses will be calling you even sooner every day, driving you crazy. They're only on the plane for 2 hours. Then you get them on a plane for 10 hours to Shanghai. Oh, my God.
Now,
Can you imagine?
By the way, as we develop that technology, we also think ultimately space travel will become more routine. So think of low Earth orbit space travel. We see additional destinations in space. So today we have the space station, but a lot of companies are working on space hotels, space manufacturing capability, and we're developing a vehicle to fly in that arena. It's called the Starliner. In fact, first flight of that Starliner is scheduled for later this year. And we do, again, think that over the next couple of decades, low Earth orbit space travel will become fairly routine, and it's going to create some new opportunities for things like space tourism.
Where do you go if you go to a space hotel? Out of this world? I mean, what happens to you?
It's just the experience, right? Now, it's questionable.
That's unbelievable.
It's questionable whether you can have a golf course in space. maybe a little different, but the experience is one that is attracting a lot of attention now, and you give the people an opportunity to see the world from a different perspective and be able to do that in a way that's safe is going to be an exciting new frontier for us.
I can't thank you enough on behalf of those people here in this room who depend on your organization every day to move millions of their travelers safely around the world. And everybody's rooting for this problem to be resolved favorably, because we all get on planes. I fly 3-4 times a week, and I want it to be resolved, and I don't ever want to have to worry about it. We appreciate you putting yourself out there in front of us and talking about these tough issues at this time, and we want to thank you for joining us here at GBTA. Ladies and gentlemen, Dennis Muilenburg.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Scott. Well said. Well said. Thank you.